dream it all. Listen close and join my song. Gentle stories all night long. Snuggle in and rest your head. Magic dreams will now be spread. Close your eyes so calm and bright. Now begins our dream. Now begins our dream.
Lulu and the Mountain of Whispering Lights. The night had fallen quietly over the valley, soft and silver as velvet. Lulu walked beneath a sky so full of stars that it seemed to hum. Each breath she took was cool, touched by the faint scent of frost from the nearby peaks. But something in the distance shimmered, not like stars, and not like fireflies. It was softer, trembling, alive. Tiny lights floated above the foothills, pulsing faintly like lanterns breathing. And faintly, very faintly, Lulu thought she heard voices. They weren't speaking words, more like sighs, or memories wrapped in light. Curious, Lulu followed the trail of glimmers until she reached the base of the mountains. The air there was thin, crisp, and full of quiet. The lights gathered around her hooves, circling gently, their glow pale blue and white. She whispered, "Are you lost?" The lights pulsed once, like a nod. Then a low sound came from above, the creak of stone and the soft clatter of something against rock. From behind a boulder stepped a mountain goat, tall and wise, with fur as white as new snow and long horns that curved like crescent moons. His eyes were kind but distant, full of old knowing. "You heard them," he said slowly, his voice deep as an echo. "Few can anymore." Lulu tilted her head. "Who are they?" "The whispering lights," said the goat. "Stars that fell before they could learn to shine. They drifted here, where the mountain's voice once called them home. But the mountain has been silent for many nights now." Lulu looked up at the towering peaks, shrouded in mist. Why did it stop calling? The goat lowered his gaze. Because it lost its echo, and without echo, sound cannot find its way back. Lulu's heart ached at the thought. Then maybe we can help it remember. The goat smiled faintly. "Once, I could have done that. My horns carried the mountain's songs through the wind. But the last storm took my voice. I am Kale, guardian of this slope, keeper of silence." Before Lulu could speak, a flicker of light darted past her ear, quick as a spark, bright as hope. It circled around her head, then hovered in front of her face. It was a tiny hummingbird, made entirely of light, its feathers shifting between blue and silver, its wings moving too fast to see. "Oh!" Lulu gasped softly. The little creature's voice was bright and musical. "You can hear them too? No one has heard the lights in so long." Lulu smiled. You mean these floating stars? The bird nodded quickly, glowing a bit brighter. They're called starlings. I try to keep them awake with stories, but they're fading. I'm Mira, or at least, that's what Kale calls me. Kale's deep voice rumbled softly. She is a fragment of the first star's breath, the only one who stayed when the others fell silent. Lulu looked around at the lights, which now hovered closer as if listening. So if the mountain remembers its echo, the starlings can rise again? Kale nodded. Yes, but the path to the echo chamber is steep, and the higher you go, the more silence you'll hear. Too much silence, and your own voice may forget itself. Lulu's will shimmered faintly under the starlight. Then I'll hold on to it, she said. Even if the mountain forgets, I won't. Mira zipped in a small circle, her wings scattering faint glitter. Then we'll go with you. The mountain loves songs, and I know a few. Kale stepped beside Lulu, his hooves sure even on loose stone. Then we climb, he said. But remember, little dreamer, to awaken an echo, you must first speak with the wind. Lulu smiled, her eyes reflecting the lights that floated around them. Then let's go find its voice. And together, a silent goat, a glowing bird, and a small sheep with a heart full of sound, they began their ascent toward the mountain of whispering lights. The mountain rose above them like a sleeping giant, its ridges wrapped in fog and moonlight. As Lulu climbed higher with Kale and Mira, the ground beneath her hooves began to glitter faintly, not with frost, but with tiny fragments of light scattered like fallen stars. Every step gave off a faint sound, soft and musical, as though the stones were remembering songs. Mira flew ahead, tracing glowing spirals in the air. This way, she chirped. The mountain hums louder near the old bridge. Lulu paused to listen. At first, she heard nothing but the sound of her breath. Then, faint, low, trembling, the wind brushed against the rocks, and a single note echoed back. It was soft, almost shy, but it lingered. Kale lifted his head. It remembers a little. Lulu turned to him. The mountain? He nodded. Every mountain has a heart that beats in sound. Ours was once a choir of stone and sky, but when the storm came, it swallowed all voices, mine included. Mira hovered near his face, her tiny light flickering sadly. That's why you never sing anymore. Kale's deep eyes softened, because I can no longer hear myself. Lulu reached out with a gentle smile. Then we'll listen for you. The goat blinked slowly, then smiled, a small, grateful curve of his lips. Then tread softly. The mountain listens to kind hearts first. They continued upward, the air growing thinner and colder. The path twisted between cliffs where glowing moss clung to the rock, casting faint reflections like liquid starlight. Sometimes, Lulu thought she heard whispers, not words, but breaths of sound moving through the stone. Myra's wings flickered faster. "Those are the mountain's lost echoes," she said. "They float between the rocks, waiting for someone to call them home." Lulu whispered, "Then let's call." She closed her eyes, took a breath, and hummed low, steady, like the sound of distant wind through pine needles. The tone carried through the air, brushing the stone walls. A moment passed, and then the sound came back, softer but warmer, like a voice answering from afar. Kale's horn shimmered faintly, a soft chime ringing through the mist. "That was it," he murmured. "An echo." Mira twirled in delight, scattering small bursts of light. "You did it, Lulu. You woke a tiny piece of the mountain." Lulu smiled, though her voice trembled. "Then maybe it's ready to remember more." But as they climbed higher, the path grew narrow and the air heavier. The lights that had danced beside them began to dim. The fog thickened until even Myra's glow seemed to fade. Kale stopped. "We're entering the hollow ridge," he said quietly. "This is where the silence lives." Lulu shivered. "It feels empty." The silence wasn't just quiet, it pressed against her ears, against her heart. Even her thoughts felt heavy, as if the stillness wanted to swallow them. Mira whispered, her glow faint. "Don't stop singing, Lulu. The silence eats songs when it gets hungry." So Lulu began to hum again, a trembling sound at first, but steadying with every breath. The tone wove through the fog like a thread of silver, reaching into the emptiness. At first, nothing happened. Then, from deep within the mountain, something stirred, a low vibration, soft as thunder wrapped in sleep. Kale lifted his head, eyes wide. "The mountain heard you." Myra's wings flared, glowing gold again. "Keep going, Lulu. It's remembering." The fog around them began to move, curling upward like smoke caught in music. The silence cracked, split by faint echoes, one, then two, then 100 tiny voices answering from the stone. Lulu gasped, smiling through the shimmer of tears. "It's alive." Kale's horns glowed faint blue, vibrating with a deep, resonant hum. "You've given the mountain its first breath in ages." And as they stood there among the shifting mists, the whispering lights below began to rise again, faint orbs glowing in the valleys, drifting upward toward the sound. The mountain was waking. The climb grew steeper now. The mountain's voice, faint at first, was beginning to pulse beneath their feet, a deep, low rhythm like the slow heartbeat of the earth itself. The mist thinned into ribbons of light that curled through the rocks, and each time Lulu hummed, the ribbons shimmered in response, rippling outward like breath. "We're close," said Kale softly. "The echo chamber is near the summit. That's where all voices are born and return." Lulu could already feel it, a vibration deep in her chest, as if her own heartbeat was trying to match the mountain's rhythm. The starlings drifted beside them again, glowing faintly brighter, whispering soft fragments of sound, lost laughter, half-remembered melodies, fragments of forgotten prayers. Mira flew ahead, her tiny light bouncing between the cliffs. Over here. I can hear something. It's like the wind trying to talk. They followed her voice through a narrow passage until the path opened suddenly into a vast cavern. The ceiling arched so high it disappeared into shadow, and from its walls hung strands of crystal that shimmered with pale light. Lulu gasped. It's beautiful. The air inside vibrated gently, like a held note waiting to be released. Pools of light formed where the crystals touched the stone, glowing with warmth. Kale stepped forward reverently. This is the echo chamber. Every song the mountain ever heard was born here. But now... He trailed off. The silence inside the chamber felt different, deeper, heavier. The crystals no longer sang. Some had gone dark, cracked by age and stillness. Mira hovered near one of them, her glow reflecting faintly on its surface. It feels sad, she whispered, like it wants to sing but can't remember how. Lulu walked to the center of the chamber, her hooves making soft sounds against the stone. She looked up, her heart full of wonder and ache. Maybe it's waiting for us. Kale's horns glimmered faintly, catching the little light that remained. If you sing here, the chamber will answer, but it might take your voice to do it. An echo always needs a sacrifice. Lulu turned to him, eyes calm. Then I'll give it what it needs. I'll lend it my sound. Mira darted to her side, alarmed. But if it takes your voice, you won't be able to sing again. Lulu smiled softly. Maybe it only needs a little. And if it's for the mountain, I'll share what I have. Kale bowed his head, his eyes shining faintly. Then let us add ours too. No song should be sung alone. So Lulu stepped into the middle of the chamber. The light around her dimmed to a soft silver, and the air grew perfectly still. She closed her eyes, took a slow breath, and began to hum. It was a fragile sound at first, soft as mist over snow, but it grew, filling the air, resonating through the stone. The sound curled around her, touching the walls, the crystals, the air itself. Mira joined in, her wings thrumming with a golden tone that danced like light through rain. Kale lowered his head, pressing one horn to the ground. A deep, low vibration rolled through the floor, the voice of the mountain's keeper returning to its home. The chamber trembled. The crystals began to glow, one after another, like stars waking from sleep. Their light pulsed with the rhythm of the song, and then the mountain answered. A sound like wind and thunder mixed together burst from the walls. It wasn't frightening, it was beautiful. It carried warmth, memory, the weight of 1,000 forgotten voices finally finding their way home. Lulu's song grew stronger, carried upward by the mountain's breath. The entire cavern shone like dawn breaking inside the earth. The starlings poured through the open roof, spiraling upward in streams of light. The echo! Mira cried. It's alive again. Kale lifted his head, his horns glowing with radiant blue light. No, it's more than that. The mountain is singing back. Lulu felt tears slide down her cheeks, though she was smiling. The sounds surrounded her, through her, beyond her, a harmony so vast it made her feel both tiny and infinite at once. And when the final note faded, the chamber didn't fall silent. It hummed softly, endlessly, as if the mountain itself was breathing again. Kale stepped forward, his deep voice trembling. The echo has returned, and so has my voice. He turned to Lulu, his eyes warm with gratitude. You gave the mountain its soul back, little dreamer. Mira twirled in the air, scattering golden sparks. And the starlings, look, they're rising. Outside the chamber, the valley glowed. The whispering lights drifted higher, their whispers clear now, like laughter caught in wind. They were free. The night air outside the echo chamber was alive. The starlings, once faint and fading, now filled the mountain skies, swirling in radiant spirals. Their soft blue and silver lights shimmered like rivers of stars flowing upward, and every flicker carried a whisper, a memory, a promise reborn. Lulu stepped out of the cavern and looked up in awe. The sky above was wider than she had ever seen, open, vast, endless. The mountain peaks shimmered faintly as if they were breathing, and every rock, every stone seemed to hum with quiet joy. Mira darted through the air, her feathers glowing gold-white, leaving streaks of light behind. They're singing again, she cried, laughing like wind chimes in sunlight. They remember their names. Kale climbed beside Lulu, the bells of his horns faintly chiming as the wind brushed them. His deep voice rumbled softly, full of warmth. This is how the mountain sounded before the storm. Every light you see is an echo that found its way home. Lulu's heart swelled as she listened. The air was filled with sound, not noise, but harmony. It was the kind of music that came from stillness itself, born from the earth, the wind, the stars, and all things in between. She turned to Kale. Your voice came back, she said with a smile. He nodded slowly, pride and gentleness in his eyes. Because you lent yours to remind it how. Mira landed softly on Lulu's head, her glow pulsing gently. And now the starlings will return to the sky, carrying the mountain's song with them. The stars above will have new voices tonight. Lulu looked upward, where the lights were rising higher and higher, joining the constellations. Will they remember the mountain? She asked softly. Kale smiled. Every echo remembers where it began, just as every voice remembers the silence that came before it. They stood together on the high ridge, watching as the last of the starlings vanished into the clouds. For a long moment, the world was still, not in silence, but in peace. The moon rose from behind the peaks, brushing the mountain's shoulders with light. Its glow spread across the valley, revealing that the rivers below were now shimmering silver, reflecting the stars above. Even the wind sang as it passed through the cliffs, gentle, warm, and alive. Mira fluttered above Lulu's face, her tone softer now. You did it, Lulu. You gave sound to silence. Lulu smiled faintly, and you gave courage to light. Kale bowed his head deeply, his horns glowing faintly. The mountain will never forget you. Wherever its echoes travel, your song will travel too. Lulu's will shimmered under the starlight. Then I'll listen for them, she whispered. Maybe one day I'll hear them again. The wind curled around her words and carried them upward, where the sky still shimmered faintly with the memory of light. Kale turned his gaze toward the horizon. When morning comes, the mountain will rest again, but this time, in peace. Mira looked up with bright, tired eyes. Do mountains dream, Kale? The old goat chuckled softly. Of course they do. They dream of the stars, and now the stars will dream of them too. Lulu lay down on the cool stone, watching the last few starlings drift into the night. Her eyes grew heavy, her heart full. Around her, the mountain hummed a low, steady rhythm, its eternal lullaby. And as she drifted into sleep, she thought she could hear the soft echo of her own voice somewhere far away, rising and falling with the wind. It sounded happy. When Lulu awoke, dawn had painted the mountain gold. The snow at the peaks shimmered with the softest blush of light, and tiny streams of meltwater trickled down the stones, humming faintly as they ran. The air smelled of new beginnings, crisp, clear, alive. Beside her, Kale stood on the ridge, his white fur glowing in the sunrise. His horns caught the light, and as the wind touched them, they chimed not loudly, but gently, like a promise kept. The mountain's awake, Lulu said sleepily, her voice still soft with dreams. Kale nodded. It remembers its song now. The echo chamber still hums, even when all else is still. You've given it back its heart. Mira fluttered down from above, her wings scattering faint sparks of morning light. She landed between them, glowing softly. And the starlings? They're back in the sky. You can hear them if you listen. Lulu looked up. The early morning was pale and endless, but if she listened closely, she could hear faint sounds, tiny echoes weaving through the air like laughter carried by light. They sound happy, she whispered. They are, said Kale. They remember what it means to belong. The wind stirred again, playful and warm. It swept around them, carrying the scent of stone and snow and sky. It brushed through Kale's horns, across Lulu's wool, and through Myra's glowing feathers. The mountain answered with a low, resonant hum, not loud, but steady. Lulu smiled. It's singing to us. Kale closed his eyes. No, he said with quiet joy. It's singing with us. They stood together for a long while, bathed in the light of the new morning. The whole world seemed to hum softly, the rivers below, the peaks above, even the quiet spaces between. Everything breathed in rhythm. Everything remembered. At last, Kale turned to Lulu. "The echo will carry on its own now," he said. "It doesn't need guardians anymore." Lulu tilted her head. "Then what will you do?" He smiled faintly, his voice deep and calm. "I think I'll rest for a while. Watch the lights return every night. Perhaps I'll even find a new song of my own." Mira zipped in small circles, glowing brighter with each turn. "And I'll keep flying. The starlings need someone to remind them to sparkle." Lulu giggled, her heart full of warmth. "Then I suppose it's time for me to keep walking to find where the next silence waits to be heard." Kale bowed his head, his voice low and full of peace. "Wherever you go, little dreamer, the mountain will echo your steps." Lulu smiled, touched her hoof gently to the ground, and whispered, "Then I'll walk softly." Mira darted up into the brightening sky, scattering light like falling petals. Kale stood at the ridge, watching as Lulu descended the winding path. The air shimmered faintly around her, the echo of a song too beautiful to end. Below her, the valley glowed with soft light. The streams whispered, the wind hummed, and from far above, the mountain sang its new morning into the world. And in that melody, in the echo that touched sky and stone alike, lived her voice, gentle and unending.
Now it's quiet, night is near. Drift away through stars so clear. Lulu whispers soft and bright. Sleep so well and good night. Sweetest dreams will softly flow. Lulu stays with you, you know, till we meet again, my dear. Let your dreams keep drawing near. Till we meet again, my dear. Let your dreams keep drawing